heroes in a half shell. Turtle power.
Dave Sim, that would be me, interviews Kevin Eastman in a multi-part series on the origins of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 8, 1986, the Cerebus crossover, the front cover of which recently auctioned for an eye-watering $78,000 at HA.com. Turtles 8 Remastered 2023 is being offered March 1st to March 31st on Kickstarter, with a series of variant covers by some of today's hottest indie creators. Don't miss it. And don't miss Kevin's 12-piece Turtles art auction, including a page from Turtles number 8 with Cerebus on it, coming in the March 30th to April 2nd Heritage Signature Auction at HA.com. Also in the March 30th to April 2nd Heritage Signature Auction, my 3 Turtles number 8 variant covers. Now, let's talk to Kevin. I mean, it's one of those things, if you picture what you thought of a 61-year-old man, you know, when you were in your 20s, it would be like, oh, he's still able to walk around on his own. Well, good for him.
Too true.
And 66 isn't any better. I gotta tell you that. But that's old man talk. We will try and do young man talk. We'll talk about when we were young men. So Northampton was really the Turtles Central from about what time? Issue 6 or so?
Yeah, about the time, about 1985.
Yeah.
We moved back to the Northampton area, and that was, so yeah, it would have been, we'd probably finished issue 5, heading into issue 6. Yep, and that was, quite a lovely place. I mean, it's not only there are 9 colleges in probably a 10 or 12 mile radius of Northampton, but there was that youth, college town culture of great bookstores and record shops and comic stores and things like that. So there was a lot of young people, and that was just a nice place. Plus, it's a beautiful place to live.
And the home of Calvin Coolidge.
Exactly true. Yep. True.
So I was driving at something with that, with the Northampton thing. Oh, one of the questions that I had was, I'm trying to remember the name of the super agent, Mark
Friedman.
Mark Friedman, right. When did you guys cross paths with Mark Friedman for the first time?
It actually was, he made a trip up to Northampton, and it was, the short version of the story is we had licensed and developed and produced with Kevin Simbayeda of Palladian Books the Turtles role-playing game, which came out in 1985, late 1985, which was really a great extension of all things Turtles, where we developed all kinds of mutant characters and things to expand the world so that they could play it as a role-playing game. Mark Friedman was an agent, kind of a freelance agent that was licensing different things to different people and had managed the Robotech license, also had played him and just as a...
Oh, I didn't know that. He was in on Robotech.
Yeah, it was I think he freelanced a couple smaller things, and at that time, Robotech certainly was anime and manga was just starting to take hold here.
Right.
But he had in a conversation with Kevin Sambaeda, he said, "So I'm always looking for new ideas. What out there on the horizon is cool and something I should take a look at?" And he said, "Well, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, of course." And when after he laughed, he said, "Say that again." So, explain to him what it was and who we were and where we were, and the success we were having. Because by then, I think by then we had done some of the first comic collection, color collectives, and some other things, and sales were getting up there. And so he called our office and said he'd like to come up and talk to us about doing some deals. And we had gotten a couple other calls prior to, and it was you could just almost feel the slime oozing through the phone, so to speak. And we had just said, no, we're not really that interested. We're not, they were like, oh, come on, kids, sign with me, 5-year deal, and I'll own all the rights, and I'll make you $1 million.
I'm going to interrupt here for my story with Peter when the Cerebus action figure didn't happen, and I said, no, I wasn't really looking to talk to somebody oleaginous on the phone, and Peter sort of looked at me and went, "They're all like that."
Is that true? Yep.
So I interrupted. Go ahead.
No, that's a great lead into next, which is so he was very pleasant on the phone and persistent. Said, "Well, look, I'm in Long Island. Let me drive up and just let me buy you a coffee and let's talk." So we said sure, and this is when we actually had the studio on Center Street in Northampton, and we had just gotten it, and we were actually repainting it. It was in the summer, and so knock on the door, open the door, and there's Pete and I in shorts, kind of covered in paint. We were painting the office, and as a gentleman with perfectly combed hair and probably a $400 or $500 suit, and similarly priced briefcase, did one of those freeze takes where he sort of took a step in the door and then looked like, what have I just walked into? And he goes, Eastman and Laird? He said, yep. And
I shaved my legs for this.
I got my eyebrows waxed for this. So we and as I mentioned, we were quite happy that we had been lucky enough to follow in the footsteps of our heroes and mentors, and were writing and drawing comics. This was quite successful for us at the time, for however long it would last, and so we were very cocky, but we were also very aware of, you name it, Jack Kirby and Gene Colan and Gary Robbins, just you name, everybody that had worked under the work for hire situation, and our heroes like Mike Kaluta and Wrightson and people who were trying to break away from that.
Right.
Really was trying to take a stand, Frank Miller, to break away from the work for hire scenarios, and so we knew that how incredibly lucky we were that we owned and created and owned and controlled our own characters. And so he said, well, I think I'd like to show this as toys, and I think it'd be a great cartoon, and the stuff will be soften up this kind of stuff. And we just said, look, we are willing to have this discussion and explore this with you, but our main rule is we have full control, full say over what they look like, what usages are, everything. And he said, that'll probably never happen. And I said, then we said, well, then never mind.
Right.
We don't need to do this deal. And so then he said, well, let me just try. And we said, okay, look, you understand where our position is, and if he wanted to sign an exclusive deal with us for a period of time, we said, we'll give you 30 days. And if in 30 days you come back to us with something that we think is worth continuing the discussion for another 30 days, we'll do so, and so on and so on. And that's where it started. So we really were pretty firm and lucky to be so at that time, to be that, whether it be a combination of being super naive, but also, as far as we were concerned, we had achieved the dream that we wanted, which was
Right.
drawing comics.
Right.
So we were very protective of our, and then, again, being aware of our mentors and heroes, is that protecting our rights. And he did. So when he approached each of the deals with care and took care of us and made sure we understood, and we drove them crazy with 1 million questions on each contract, and we had to hire lawyers to explain explain everything because we wanted to know, everything, what every single where is and here in and here opt out, I don't know, whatever, just every nuance of the comic could mean, because you can read it in 10 different versions, interpretations of it. So, but no, he was good. He positioned in a way, and
he did follow your instructions. Basically, he understood, okay, this is the parameters, and wasn't particularly optimistic because he knew the people that he dealt with don't usually deal this way. But if this is the parameters, these are the parameters.
Yep. Yeah, that was it. And I think he, it showed us, honestly, at the end of the day, that he actually did believe it enough to take a stand on it, because it was, when it came time to sign a deal, it was, he knew we wouldn't sign it if it wasn't with those controls and restrictions and things that we wanted. So it just as easily could have failed, and that the people that he wanted to work with. But it was, again, he chose, instead of going to a Hasbro or Mattel, one of the bigger toy companies that might have even optioned it just to sit on it, so it didn't compete with something else they were producing.
Right.
Say boys category. He went to companies that were having some success in startup and looking to spend money to get into the very competitive and very lucrative boys action figure market. So it was good. He did the right thing by us for quite a few years.
There did come the point, and this was one of those things that was a hypothetical for me, so I never really knew, okay, what would that situation have been, where the pressure of being the co-CEOs of Mirage Studios crowded out the drawing time and the writing time.
Correct. Yep. It was.
Did that sneak up on you, or was there just sort of like okay, now we've hit the wall?
Yep. It's more like now we hit the wall, and it was almost instantaneous from the Christmas vacation between 1987 heading into 1988, where the first cartoon show premiered, because we'd worked through a good chunk of 1987 lining up a few of the deals and then producing the first 5 animated shows, which were fully funded by the toy company and a partner, Group W. And
good idea.
So,
I didn't know about that part. That's pretty clever.
Yeah, it was total gonzo sort of guerrilla tactics in that you couldn't get it on network, so it went out through syndication. It was a lot of cable networks were new. The typical TV season is 13 episodes. They knew they had enough money to do 5, and they would run it on a holiday break. And if it worked, if they had a good feeling, good feedback on the ratings, the first 5, then they would look to do another 8 to give it a full season for, say, the fall of 1988. But also, the toy company would not start tooling up for manufacturing the molds to actually make the toys until they saw the success of the cartoon show and had some level of confidence. So they also had to buy, to put it on syndication, they actually had to buy advertising time to help support their 22-minute commercials.
Right.
So it was, it was quite a thing. We didn't, so we, it was, so by the time we landed in January 1988, the thumbs up to make the toys, which came out in June of '88, thumbs up to do the next cartoon series came up. So we suddenly went from, and then because you now had a program that you could license other products around, like Random House coloring books and different kinds of activity books, and even the Archie Turtles comic that was the version based on the animated show as opposed to the black and white. everything was greenlit. So we went from that's where we hit the wall, where it went from say 80% of our time writing and drawing together to 20% of our time doing business, to a complete reversal as we went into 1988, where now it was the management of the characters and the they said you want to have full control and say over what your characters look like and what the animation scripts are and what everything is. Well, you have it. Now you've got to take care of business.
Now you've got to read all of those scripts and give them notes on it, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. So it was pretty immediate, and I would say frustrating on the one hand, but also gratifying on the other hand, because we this was incredibly new territory to us. We the same naivety that we went into publishing and self-publishing distribution. Animation as a universe was unique into itself, as were toys, and just understanding these aspects of the business. We felt we needed to know it as best we could to protect our rights and our characters. So, no complaints. There was, as I used to say, I was paid very well to go to college during the early years of the Turtles, and I paid dearly for it when I did Tundra. So there you go, for my master's education.
I do remember, I think the conversation probably would have been at the Northampton Summit, which was November of '88. And it wasn't you or Peter, but it was somebody in the studio who told me that you had contract day, where they would literally just lay out contracts and you would have to go through them and sign as many contracts as you could on whatever it was, Thursday, contract day. And it's like, man, oh man, I don't know if I could have done that, but you sort of backed into it, but at the same time, it's like, how are you going to argue with that kind of success?
It was the understanding and the learning curve and learning the business, and that and it compounds, and in that so it was contract day was just set up as contract day because there was a lot of other stuff in between, which was say on a contract day you signed 25 contracts, and there was say 5 or 6 of each for each licensing, for our records and their lawyers and whatever. So each of those contracts, whether it be a coloring book, a turtle belt buckle, you name it, an activity book, another thing, all of that then resulted in work that was attached to it, which meant design work, approval work, and that stuff. And this is part of the evolution of a lot of the guys that worked at Mirage, who were doing, helping with the Turtle comics as well as their own comic. It suddenly became more lucrative for them and for us as a time management, as our control over the property, to have guys in our studio, artists in our studio, produce all the work for a video game cover or a coloring book or you name it. So suddenly the entire studio of almost 20 artists and personnel and management teams to get the stuff through was all focused on things related to each day's activities based on what we signed for those contracts on contract day.
Right.
And then not to eat up all of our time talking about this, but the interesting thing was suddenly after heading into year 2, it now became an internationally received property. So 400 contracts ended up being 600 contracts, ended up being 1,200 contracts, ended up being 2,000 contracts around the world. So it meant copyright, trademark enforcement, international lawyers, international lawyer meetings, international licensing show, property management, you name it. It was just one of these things. And then the lawsuit started. Everybody and their brother who created the Turtles and didn't act on it before we did filed a lawsuit. It was just
Cowabunga, dude.
Living together. Cowabunga, dude. We actually got sued by
I know.
Buffalo Bob.
Yeah.
Howdy Doody Show. So, but it
When,
was,
when you're getting
so-
sued by Buffalo Bob, it's like things have gone completely off the rails.
Yeah. But yeah, there was, but the management, that's when, when people sometimes would look at us and, feel that, we'd show up somewhere and they would assume that we just came off our private island somewhere, off a private jet. There was,
Right.
Mai Tais or something in hand to attend some event. But in actuality, it was, the greatest job you'll ever hate is, we were working, 90 hours a week because we were still trying to be creative. The further, you'd see, it's like that scene in It's a Wonderful Life, when you see Jimmy Stewart's drawing table with all the architectural and drafting things, and it's just sitting over the corner of the room, and you're going like, that's what I want to be. I want to be over there working on that, but I'm over here with no complaints, signing contracts, because
Right.
it's what we, be careful what you ask for, or what you wish for, or even if you didn't wish for it, it was there.
There it is. How are you going to turn that down? And that's
Yes, sir.
that's another 20 minutes already.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
But it's I'm gonna come back to this because it's one of those things that nobody knows from the inside, and when you do find out about it from the inside, I remember the time talking to you on the phone where all of that was finally behind you, and all you had to do was draw the turtles. And it's like, this is what I wanted to get back to, however many years it was in between there.
Yeah, it's quite true. I mean, going back to the turtles and drawing, sort of packing up, saying goodbye to Los Angeles and all of this other things that I thought I wanted to do, to going back to what I should have been doing all along, which was drawing. I produced more work since 2011 to today than I did in the entirety of all the years leading up to 2011, period. 300 covers and 4 graphic novels, and just drawing as long as I'm awake and loving every minute of it.
And there's a lesson in that, but only for artists. For everybody else, it's, are you crazy? So that's a wrap on this segment, and we'll arrange another time as soon as I can shut this little recorder off.